Welcome everyone. Today we're celebrating Shivaratri, a Hindu holiday dedicated to Shiva or Supreme Consciousness. And when we do the mantra Om Namah Shivaya on this day, it's worth 10,000, maybe even more. Last night Faith said 100,000. It's worth 100,000 mantras. So even just doing a few in class, we're getting a lot of great merit. And we'll use that to help us find inner balance, inner calm as we explore our practice. So we'll do a little bit together and then we'll get moving. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. 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 And even as I stop playing the harmonium, see if you can keep the mantra going with your breaths. Om Namah Shivaya. Each inhale, each exhale. And then as you continue with your mantra, we'll add gentle movement. So start to lean to one side. Om Namah Shivaya. Lean forward. Om Namah Shivaya. And keep circling your weight around on the pelvis and try repeating mantra. We often repeat mantra with the breath, and now I'll ask you to repeat mantra with your movement, with your sensation. So each little shift comes with the mantra. And let the shoulders and the elbows start to soften. So as you gently lean in one direction, you even melt a little bit more to each side to forward. The head can start to follow. Om Namah Shivaya. The head rolls around. Everything that you do should feel supportive, and let's all slow down and close the eyes. If you can't feel what you're doing, it's not even worth it. That's the whole point of interosurfing, this gentle movement exploration with your mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. And as inner sensation wakes up, give yourself permission to lean a little bit further. That will activate more of your core musculature. Can always slide the hands over to the floor. Paw the hands around. And give yourself some freedom to start to explore. Om Namah Shivaya. Maybe reaching up, spiraling the heart to the sky. Om Namah Shivaya. And I do like doing this with music, but the mantra should come first. So if you're following along with the playlist, you can hit play. It's all instrumental. And keep going with your mantra as the music guides you to feel and to flow. Om Namah Shivaya. The next time you come up to center, pause for a moment, let the mantra stack the spine. Om Namah Shivaya. Feel that space and support. And then plant the sole of the left foot in front of you. Anchor the left big toe and gently allow the knee to come wide so you feel the outside of the leg. I don't have a pretty water bottle today, so I'm going to move it. So you feel the outside of the leg turning on, especially the glutes. Take a gentle twist to the left. Om Namah Shivaya. And then reach up, coming back to center. Push down into the big toe. Anchor the right hand to the other side and gently lift the hips up. Reaching the left hand away from the left knee. The whole left side opens. And then set the hips down and repeat that. So twist to the left, repeating the mantra. And then slowly untwist. Press into the foot, letting the whole body float. Start to pay attention to the right hand. We'll keep moving through these two postures. And each time the fingertips or the whole hand comes to the floor, find a softness, find a spring in the elbow. And the next time you come down, pause there. Switch the cross of the legs. So whichever leg was in front, switch it out. It might feel a little awkward. That's okay. Come back to the mantra. We won't spend as much time here, but just begin taking some of those gentle circles, giving yourself the freedom to explore and move. Imagine you can't move without repeating the mantra. So the mantra is generating your movement. It's like the fuel for your yoga practice. And you're welcome to explore here as long as you want, and then we'll go into that short sequence with the right foot in front. So if you feel like ready to have something concrete to do, you can move there sooner. Planting the sole of the right foot, paying attention to the anchoring of the big toe and the gentle outward spiral with the right knee. And take your time spiraling there for a moment, and then you can twist to the right with the mantra and unfold. Let the movement come from the right foot, pushing down, slowly letting the whole body lift. Om Namah Shivaya. And then pulse at your own pace, except sometimes slower is better. You guys have all done a lot of yoga with me, so you're moving so beautifully and slowly and consciously. We'll take one more to either side. You can always pause if one of those is more useful to you. And then slide any blankets or cushions out of the way. Make sure the blocks are close but aren't going to be in your way. So I have them over to the left end of my mat. And then we'll turn to the right, grab behind the legs, and gently start to sway from side to side. And pull on the legs a little bit so the arms start to strengthen, and try to feel how the shoulder blades connect into the torso, not with any strain. Try to avoid that action of drawing the shoulder blades down intensely. Instead, just let them integrate. Make a couple of circles on the hips here, and then circle the other way. And then pause at center. You might need to slide the hands a little lower down. Keep pulling on the legs so you have extra support as you start to release one vertebra at a time. It's okay to hover the feet. Make sure you're breathing. The mantra will help here, and we'll eventually make it all the way to the back, but see if you can control your way down. Nice. Great job, Mel. And then once you've arrived, find your mantra. Breathe it all the way down to your fingers. Breathe the mantra all the way down to your toes. And imagine throughout the rest of class, each time you feel something interesting in your body, the mantra is being deposited there. Filling ourselves with more and more mantras. Open the arms to T. Start to windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And then pay attention to the bottom rib. If you were in class last week, I talked a lot about this. Bring the knees to center and start to anchor the bottom rib down into the yoga mat. And so this is about at the middle of the back. And when you do this, you should feel your core engage and the spine lengthen. We're not trying to flatten the lumbar vertebrae, but we are activating the deep core. With the bottom rib anchored, now start to windshield wiper the knees again and notice how you might have more limited movement, but also notice how supported the hip socket feels, how integrated the legs feel into the core and maybe all the way up to the shoulders. Well, the next time the knees are pointed upward, walk the feet in just a little bit so they're just ahead of the knees. Bring the right knee into the chest and curl up. Release the head down. Keep the hands interlaced across the shin. Gently start to push into the left foot, lifting the hips away from the mat for a single leg bridge. Set the hips down. Bring your left hand to the outer right thigh and squeeze hand and thigh together so you feel the right side of the core engage. Keeping that engagement, gently start to point the knees slowly to the left. So you don't want to go too deep into the twist, and hopefully that engagement through the right side of the body almost like limits your twist and you feel more connected than stretch. Take a breath and a mantra. And then come back to center and extend the right leg long. Reach the arms overhead. Kick out through the heels so you feel the back of the body support you. Om Namah Shivaya. And then we'll repeat that again. So knee pulls in, curl up. Release the head down. Push into the right foot for single leg bridge. Anchor the left big toe. Let the knee track wide, let the glutes engage, and then slowly set the hips down. Left hand to right thigh, keep squeezing, and then take that supported twist with all your awareness on the right side, filling that right side with mantras. Let's do one more. Kick out through the heel, reach overhead, getting as long as possible, feeling supported in the hip socket. And then squeeze right knee and curl up. Release down. Use your next exhale to lift into the single leg bridge. Inhale, release the hips down, and then use your next exhale for that integrated twist, waking up so much sensation on that right side. Stay in the twist. Pull the bottom knee up so you've got more support underneath the right leg. Reach the left arm long. If your head needs a little support here, you can curl your yoga mat underneath your head as you roll onto your side. And we'll take some circles with the right arm. And you don't want to feel too much sensation in the right shoulder, so that might mean a smaller circle. And it might also mean more rotation through the spine. So imagine the arm is connected to the heart, and as you reach behind you, the spine spirals open. It's not really about stretching the shoulder. As long as we're here and we're doing some balancing work today, it's good to have the glutes on. Let's do a couple of clam shells. So point the knees down, away from the body at a 45-degree angle, heels in line with the hips. Keep the pelvis stacked as you lift the right knee. The pelvis shouldn't move at all, so the leg isn't going to lift very high, and that's actually great. That means the gluteus medius, the muscle we want turning on, is turning on. And the next time the knee lowers, pause there, feel the warmth on the right side of the hip, and take one final circle with the right arm forward, up and back. And as the arm reaches behind you, try to feel how the arm connects down into the obliques, so the side core, and then into the right side of the hip, and then into those muscles that were just working in the hip and the outer thigh. Big stretch from hand to right knee. And then slowly roll onto the back. Knees point up. You can keep your mat rolled up underneath your head if that feels good. And we'll go to the second side. So now the left knee curls in. Slowly reach up, meeting torso to thigh. And then release the head down. Push into the right foot, lifting the hips and repeating your mantra. Set the hips down, right hand to left thigh. Squeeze to integrate the left side of the body and take your slow rotation. Knees point to the right. And then make your way back to center. Kick out through the left heel. Reach the arms overhead. Flex the foot. Feel the calf and the hamstring participate. And then back to the beginning. If you want to sync this with your breath, use the exhale to lift in our modified Uttanasana. Inhale to release. Use the next exhale to lift into single-legged bridge. Inhale to release. Exhale to twist to the right. Always moving at your own pace, your own breath flow. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, kick out through the left heel, getting long, stretching. One more. You can stay with me or go on your own. Om Namah Shivaya, up into Uttanasana. Single leg bridge. Exhale takes you into the new movement, and inhale takes you back to that centered position. Integrated twist. And then this time we'll roll all the way onto the right side, facing away from me. Pause for a moment on the side, and then start to circle the left arm up overhead. Behind you, let it peel open, left shoulder and the heart, soft shoulder, no strain here. My hands hovering far away from the ground. And then take a couple more circles on your own, trying to feel how the left arm integrates into the rib cage, down into the left hip, and down into the left knee. All connected at the center. And the next time you have the hands stacked, point the knees down a few degrees more, bringing the heels in line with the hips. Left hand to the left hip, keeping the hips stationary. Start to lift the left knee and lower. If you want to sync it with the breath, use the exhale to lift. See if you can feel the muscles on the outside of the left hip that are gently engaging to lift the knee. And the next time the knee lowers, we'll stretch all of that out with one final circle, left arm overhead, open, and then trace that pathway. See if you can feel how reaching the left arm up and back gives some relief to the area that was just working in the outside of the hip. And then slowly let the shoulder come down, let the knees follow, reach the fingertips towards the heels, and let's take one bridge pose with both of our feet on the ground. Maybe it feels so light and effortless after those single-legged bridges. Om Namah Shivaya. And then melt the spine down, grab behind the legs, and spring the legs forward, coming up to seated. Rotate the knees to the left, take a gentle twist to the left, and start to spring into the left arm, just waking up a little more sensation in the hand, elbows, shoulders. Be soft, be supple. You don't want any tension to build as you do this. Each bounce can be a mantra. And then use that momentum to lift both hands. Lift the knees, coming back to center, and bring some awareness to that bottom rib that we talked about when we were on our back. Imagine there's a wall behind you. Try to push the bottom rib into that wall and feel how the core engages. For me, I feel my rib cage integrate down into my core and more space through my spine. Take a breath. And then knees go the other way. Twist to the right, right hand down. Take your springs, each spring with a mantra. Move the hand around, waking up different muscles in the wrist and the shoulder. As the hand comes forward a little, you might feel more action in the chest and the pecs. When the hand comes back, you might feel more in the back of the shoulder blade and the side core. And then next spring, lift the hands and take a moment to find that little extra strength by pushing the low rib back. It's kind of like a hollow body experience. Nice. Take a couple of breaths, relax the shoulders, and then cross the right foot in front of the left. Left hand plants behind you. We did this action last week and it was super fun. Push down into the feet, down into the left hand. Slowly pivot to table. As the right hand comes down, push into the right hand and keep pivoting all the way back around. And then we'll reverse that. So right hand stays where it is, push into feet and right hand. And we have this kind of like around the world experience. Move nice and slow and get really interested in the articulation of the humerus in the shoulder socket. And so we are making quite big rotations with some weight on the shoulder. Move slow, move consciously. If you ever need a break, stay in table and do some thread the needles instead. Same action, no weight bearing. We'll just do one more. So the next time the right hand pushes down and you flip to table, pause there. Whew. And make some nice circles around the wrists so the shoulders are changing position. And then give your wrists a little break by lowering on to the forearms. And as you do that, notice anything that engages in your core. Notice any sense of continuity of the rib cage down into the core. Notice the length of the spine. Take a couple of breaths. Flatten the tops of the feet. And push into the forearms, starting to send the hips back a little bit. They're not going to make it very far because you don't have a lot of space when the forearms are down, but start to feel the back of the hips waking up and see if you can keep the spine neutral. So we're practicing a hip hinge, and most commonly people arch their back when they do this and don't actually hinge purely at the hips. So see if you can press that bottom rib up, integrating the core once again, and find that pure hip hinge. When I do it right, I really feel the sling of muscles on the back of the hip catch me here. I can also feel my core working quite hard to stabilize. The next time you come forward, push into one hand at a time, coming into tabletop. And let's try that same thing from here. And so I'm going to demo one time what it looks like when you arch your back and do it. So this is really common, right? You can see that there's a lot happening in my spine as my hips come back. And then what we're doing is we're really working to keep the spine neutral as the hips come back. So nothing is changing here. So you can try it one or two more times, or actually more than that. Good. Nice inner focus, Julie. And Mel, it looks like you're almost like overcompensating and the spine is rounding this way. So great job moving in the opposite direction, and then now find the middle ground. Nice. Yeah, sometimes it means you don't hip hinge as far, and that's okay at first. Okay, next time the hips reach back, let them sink all the way to the heels. It's okay if the spine rounds. Let everything go. Forehead melt if that feels good. Little massage of the forehead, side to side, rolling. Make any adjustments with the arms so the shoulders feel okay. In fact, we've already done a lot of shoulder work, so draw a big circle around the body, lift the hips, grab one wrist underneath the hips, and then set the hips back down and let the shoulders release for a moment. Let's repeat a few mantras silently. Notice this feeling here of centering and calmness. And our dancing Shiva that I showed you at the beginning has the most serene smile on his face as he dances through a ring of flames. Imagine you could find this feeling of being so calm and centered through whatever life brings your way. Take a few mantra repetitions to sink into this state. And then gently lift the hips, release the arms, and shift the weight back into the hips, push into the hands, and slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Send the hips forward, coming up to standing on the knees. So much space on the hips after all those hip hinges. Yay, feel that space in the front of the hips. Let's make sure the blocks are nearby, so you can do a little kneeling walk to your blocks if you need to. If your mat's still rolled up, you can unroll it and place the blocks at the highest height to the left and right of the mat, kind of towards the center. Take a few steps underneath you, walking the knees out until you find a space where the hips feel really supported. If you're following along with the music, you can go to the next track. Shift the weight into the right knee and step the left forward into a 90-90 lunge. Okay, we've been doing these a lot. They're my new favorite thing ever. My psoas is getting stronger and feeling so resilient. I hope yours is too. Tuck the back toes under. Keep the body neutral, just like we were practicing with the spine before. So press into the low rib. I've actually been playing with bringing my hand there so I can literally press my bottom rib back and bring the other hand to the rib cage so you feel that almost like suctioning that happens when the core engages. It's really subtle. Take a couple of mantras here. And then bend just at the right knee. Nothing else changes. So the hands are kind of there for feedback. And as the right knee bends, notice what wakes up in the right hip. And so the bending of the knee just allows you to lean back a little bit. It's subtle, but it's also powerful. That's your psoas muscle firing up. And man, this muscle supports us in so many ways. We want it to be awake and strong. Start to sync this with your breath, leaning back with an exhale and a mantra. And the next time you lean back, pause there. Reach the right arm up. Get as much length as you can through the right side without side bending. And then reach the left arm out to the side. Take one breath to lengthen, and then ever so gently push down into the right knee. Let the whole right side lengthen. Gentle side bend, staying more strong, not worrying about a stretch. Take a breath here. And then push into the left foot, coming up to neutral. Release the hands to your blocks. Walk them forward any amount. Inch the front foot forward and to the left so it's outside of the blocks, and let the hips melt forward. Make some circles with the hips and try to avoid that desire we have to stretch, and instead get really curious about finding ease and fluidity. You guys all look so great, so integrated. And then play with kicking into the left heel, letting the left leg extend any amount here, and see if you can remind yourself of that hip hinge action. So avoid the arching or the rounding of the spine, and let the movement come from the tipping of the hips as the spine stays neutral. Bend and extend into the front knee a few times. And if it helps, you can press up through that back rib. That's been like my magic trick lately to keep my core engaged. Sometimes I don't really know what my spine is doing, and if I lift through that bottom rib, I can really feel the neutrality of my spine in a strong way. Okay, the next time you bend forward, we're going to do something kind of fun. Lift the back knee, bring the block underneath the back knee. If you have sensitive joints, you might need to put a blanket under the block, but basically what the block is going to do is it's going to slightly destabilize the right hip and help us turn on more muscles. So the same thing that we did before, take some lean backs and just notice any little extra support happening in the right thigh and the right hip. And then the next time you lean back just a little bit, check in with the spine. This time, reach both arms up. Take a couple of breaths. And if you want a little bit more here, use the exhale to lengthen through the front of the body. The low back should stay nice and soft. Inhale, push the hands down and come out a little bit. And then exhale, lift the arms, let the whole front of the body open. Exhale, inhale, repeat, push down, come out, and then exhale, go a little further back. Waving like a blade of grass, so effortlessly, no ego. Nice job. Your pelvises look so neutral. Are you guys feeling the stretch sensation even though we're not going into these dramatic back bends? Give me a thumbs up. I'm just curious. Yes. All right. It's magic, isn't it? I love it. Okay. The next time you lean back, notice how strong the whole front of the body is. Use that strength. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slingshot yourself forward, reaching forward, letting the back knee lift. Feel free, if you didn't get it the first time, to try it again. But notice if that strength of the front of the body can propel you forward. Yeah, or try it again just because it's fun. Yay! Great job, everybody. Take a couple of bounces in the back foot and let the back foot, it'll naturally step shorter. So let that happen. And then bend both knees, find your neutral pelvis, pause at the top. Big bowl with the arms. I'll turn so you can see it. So like a melty W. Gentle twist to the left. See if you can feel the continuity from the left side of the rib cage down into the left hip. And then push into both feet, reach up. Use your exhale to twist into our Atlas lunge. Take a few on your own. Repeat the mantra. Try to feel all the way down to the feet. So it's like the whole body spiraling. It's not just happening at one place. The next time you twist, pause there. Make sure you're nice and bouncy. You can actually even bounce a couple of times in the twist. And then gently untwist. Beautiful, Kayla. Melt the back heel down and let the body slowly start to pour over the front leg. Hopefully there's one block there to catch you, and maybe you can even reach the other block. Nice, easy Uttanasana. Soften the front knee. Breathe into the low back. Make sure the spine feels supported yet soft. Nice alignment with your necks, everybody. And then gently bend the back knee. You can bring extra weight into the hands if you need more support as you lower the back knee down. And then bring the left knee to meet it. Lower your blocks to the lowest height. Send the hips back to the heels and melt forward into Bhaktasana. Hands can be on the blocks if that feels okay on the arms. Breathe into the shoulders, breathe into the low back. Imagine depositing mantras into all the space you just created with your awareness. Push down into the shins. Slowly roll up to standing on your knees. And we'll do that same thing on the second side. So shift the weight into the left knee this time. Short lunge, right knee steps. Take a couple of breaths. Bring one hand to the low back. I like to bring the back of my hand. I find that it's more comfortable on my shoulder. So back of hand to the bottom rib, other hand to the rib cage. Find neutral for a moment. Take a couple of breaths here and then tuck the back toes and start to take your pulsations. And as you breathe and as you repeat the mantra, try to appreciate how you don't really need to move very much to get a lot to happen here. Less really is more. The next time you lean back, pause there, reach the left arm up without side bending, but just feel the whole left side lengthen. Reach the right arm out to the side. Take a breath, and on your next exhale, then push down into the left knee. Slowly open the whole left side of the body. Keep breathing. And then push into the right foot, sending your weight back to neutral. Slowly release forward. Hands to blocks. The right foot should be outside of both of the blocks. Bend into the right knee. Let the hips come forward just a little bit. And then make some of your hip circles here. Massaging, lubricating the hip sockets. Keep the right big toe anchored. You'll wake up more musculature in your feet as everything else moves around. The foot will stabilize. And then start to kick into the right heel. Flex the right foot gently. Let the hips reach back. And then bend into the front knee. Bring the sole of the foot down, going back to where we came from. And we'll pulse between these two shapes, becoming very interested in keeping the spine neutral, which takes a surprising amount of work, right? So remember that action of the hip hinge. Remember that work of lifting the bottom rib without arching the spine. Nice smell. Your spine looks really neutral. Sometimes I literally do this in front of a mirror if I'm like, am I really doing it? So I'll be your mirror. You look great. Nice, Roseanne. Yeah, you got it, Julie. And the next time you come forward, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, take the block that's underneath your right hand and place it under the back knee, lower the knee down, and slowly come up to kneeling on the block. And notice how this has changed your position. Make any adjustments with the front knee. You might need to shorten your stance a little bit. And then scoop the air up with both hands. Take a moment just at neutral. Take a few deep breaths. And then you can start to use the exhale to push down into the left knee and lengthen the whole front of the body. And the inhale, come out just a little bit. Push the hands down. And then exhale, push down into the left knee. Let the whole front of the body expand. And we'll just gently wave into our Anjaneyasana. And if you feel a little extra wobbly in the back knee and the back hip, that's actually the goal. And so just notice what muscles come on to support you. Be okay not going as far into the lunge as you're used to. Instead, favor the stability. And the next time you come into Anjaneyasana, pause there. Feel the connection from the heart down to the left knee. And then let that rubber band stretching start to shorten and spring you forward. Lift the back knee as you reach forward. If that went okay, or you need to try it again, or it was really fun, try it a few times. If it's too intense to lower the back knee all the way back down, you can just take little pulses to strengthen the back leg. We'll just play with that transition a couple of times. And the next time you spring forward, straighten both legs, and then bend into the front knee, sending more weight into the front leg. Start to flick into the back toes. The back toes are going to naturally want to come forward just a little bit. Let that happen until you find a really natural space to land. And then start to rotate to the right. Big, soft arms, Atlas twist. Straighten and bend the knees a couple of times. And then we'll pulse, inhaling, straightening the legs and reaching up. And then exhaling to bend the knees, gently and evenly rotating. Each time you rotate, try to feel a sense of continuity all the way from the right foot up the whole right side of the body. If you feel this stretch just in one place, try to move slower, breathe more, until you can find it evenly through the whole body. The next time you reach up, let the back heel anchor. Soften the front knee, hand to thigh. Gently start to melt the spine over the leg. Left hand to the block that should be right there, and then bring the other block forward. Soften the knees, sway the hips a little bit. And then lower the block to the lowest height. Place them about shoulder width apart and step the right foot back so you're in plank pose on the blocks. Bend the knees, press into the hands, send the hips up and back. Another great place to practice the hip hinge. So check in with the sense of the spine being neutral. Bend the knees and lengthen from hands to sits bones. And then push into the feet, slowly shifting the weight forward to a plank pose. Lower the knees. This is already going to be more intense because the hands are up. So be very gentle as you pull back on the blocks and let the heart just peek forward. Keep the low back soft. Push into the hands, hover the knees, return to down dog, and then start to tiptoe up towards the block. And imagine the core lifting each leg, almost like suctioning it up so that you can take the most silent steps forward. The knees can be bent really, really deeply. We'll meet in Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Feet are hips width distance. Bend the knees really generously, melt the spine. Take a couple of mantras. And then walk the hands up the legs. Heavy hips. Hips sink down towards the heels. Push into the feet to roll up one vertebra at a time. Okay. Step your right foot onto your block. And we'll continue to play with our hip hinge. So take a moment to find your neutral spine. And then as you bend into the right knee, make sure the weight is in the heel. You don't want any pressure. Great. You don't want any pressure in the front of your knee. Start to gently twist to the right, and then kick into the right heel to straighten the leg, and notice how the torso goes forward. And then we'll repeat this a few times. So as the knee bends, you rotate into the leg. As the leg straightens, you square off. And then release the arms down and start to allow the arms to swing. And so as the front knee bends, the left arm will swing forward, so opposites. And then as you kick into the leg, let the right arm reach forward. And start to feel the weight shifting from foot to foot. Make sure the right leg feels supported. This is the action of like walking up a step, right? So we're really practicing this nice integrated hip hinge. And the next time you shift forward, pause there. I'm going to take a picture of everyone because this is such an awesome moment. And then slowly power into the right heel to stand up on the block and let the left leg start to swing. The block is going to be a little wobbly, and it's kind of like doing the lunge on the block where this is actually good. It's actually turning on more in our hip socket. The leg swing should be really nice and natural. Don't worry about making it big. Let the pelvis stay pretty neutral, and the front of the hip will just gently open and close. And the next time the leg comes back, set it down, and let's see if we can put that together. So we have the lunge and then the kick. We'll do a couple of those. Lunge, kick, lunge, kick. The next time you lunge, shift the weight into the leg swing. As the leg comes back, step it back, and then go into the kick. Lunge, kick, lunge, swing. Lunge, kick, lunge, swing. Lunge, kick, lunge, swing. And move at your own pace. If you ever get stuck, you can pulse between just 2 things instead of 3. And then you can switch. And now come back to your mantra, because we're doing a lot. This is kind of complex. Can you have awareness at your heart as you remember all these different little movements? Yes, always feel free to add things on, subtract, slow down. And the next time you come forward into the leg swing, pause there. Bring the sole of the left foot to the left calf, soft arms. I'll turn just so you can see me. Just pause for a moment in tree. If this feels really easy and you want to practice finding center in an unstable situation, turn towards me so your foot is hanging off the edges of the block. And I always talk about how important the big toe is, right? You're sort of like giving yourself a handicap, taking away that very important toe. Do your mantra, find your calm. Yeah, smile. If you lose your balance, that's great. As long as you don't hurt yourself. Nice. And then let's gently step off the block. Find Tadasana, melt the arms. Scan the right side of the body. And notice how centered and anchored you are on solid ground. We'll do a few repetitions of Om Namah Shivaya out loud. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Room for your breath. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. 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 So we'll go through that same thing on the other side. And it was nice to be twisting towards each other. So you can grab your blocks and bring them to the other side of your mat. I am thirsty, so if anyone else is thirsty, have a drink of water. I keep noticing how spacious the right side of my body feels. So if you're walking around and grabbing a drink of water, you might notice the asymmetry in your body. Does anyone else feel that? Yeah. Yeah, feel like you guys all do this. Everyone's starting to walk around. You're like, we haven't walked around in class yet. What's going on, Abaya? Yeah, let's go for a little walk with our beautiful, spacious left sides. And then we'll go for another walk once our right sides feel great too. Okay, let's make our way back to the mat. Step the left foot onto the block. Start to anchor down into the left heel. Make sure there's never any pressure in the front of that left knee. Start to bend the left knee as you gently twist to the left. So remember, the important thing here is the hip hinge. Take a moment to make sure the spine is feeling neutral, and you can use your hands for feedback. Take a couple of bends and extends, and really the whole body, including the back leg, stays completely still, and it's just the front knee and hip that change. And then let the arms go free, and they'll start to add in. We'll let the left arm swing forward as you step forward, and then as you push into the foot, so opposite arm and leg as you come forward, same side, left arm floats as you kick into the left leg. And so we'll take several of these and start to move as effortlessly as possible. You guys look so graceful. And you can play with bringing more and more weight into the back foot so that the front foot gets really light. In that moment, you might notice how the core engages to catch you. And the next time you swing forward, pause there. Anchor down into the foot. Take a couple of bounces, making sure the left hip feels good. And then push into the left foot and swing the right leg forward. And let it swing freely, and try to keep the pelvis and the upper body neutral. Come back to your mantra. Just imagine you're going on a walk, going through your life, doing mantra. Sun shining. And then the next time the leg swings back, bend into the front knee, place the sole of the back foot down, and we'll repeat that again. So we come into the twist and then kick into the front leg for our weightless, almost like half Tadasana. Take a couple of those. So we'll call this the lunge and straighten, lunge and straighten. Next lunge, shift the weight and go into the swing. And then the next time the leg comes back, gently bend the front knee, going into that hip hinge, and then kick into the front leg for the straighten. And so if it's hard before, just stay at the lunge and straighten for as long as you want. And then when you're ready, you can kick forward into the leg swing. If you want to put it all together, it goes leg swing, lunge, straighten, lunge, leg swing. Leg swing, lunge, straighten, lunge, leg swing. Take your time, be patient. There is no right or wrong. Doesn't really matter what your arms are doing as long as it feels as good as possible for you. Hang out in one of those. You can play with coming onto tippy toes. And as you start to play through these movements, see if you can find your center. You can find your mantra through the chaos, right, of all of the activities of your life, going from point A to point B, to thinking about this, to planning that. You can still be doing mantra. The next time you come to the leg swing, pause. Take a moment to stand up tall a half Tadasana, and then bring the sole of the foot just to the calf at first. Arms into a big soft bowl with the elbows drooping. And gently breathe here. If you notice the left hip sagging, try to pull the hip underneath you and see if you can stand up a little taller. Stay here, or option to pivot to face me so the toes and the heel hang off the block, and try your tree pose there. We'll do a couple extra mantras. More muscles are firing. There's less certainty, less stability. Find your calm in this moment. And then gently step off of the block. Melt the arms. Breathe into the left side. Deposit mantras into the left side. Just notice any sense of warmth, any sense of energy flowing, pathways opening. And now we'll go for a meditation walk around the space. Try to repeat your mantra and see if you can just observe yourself moving. You don't need to change anything. Just allow this very natural movement to flow through the body. If you're feeling excitable, you can step up on the blocks or other hurdles that are in your room. It's fun, right? And then make your way back to the mat. And pause in Tadasana, facing the screen, and let the heels anchor down. Soften the knees. Take a moment to notice if the spine is neutral. If not, you can do a little bit of that work to brighten the deep core. And then for our last standing pose, you have an option. It's a balance pose. If you liked balancing on the block, you're welcome to step onto your podium and to balance on the block, or to balance on the short end of the block if you're really feeling up for it. You can also keep both feet on the floor. So it's totally up to you, whatever would feel best for you in this moment. And we'll place the right foot as our anchor and soften the right knee. If you're up on the block, you can take a couple of lunges, just like we did before. And then push down into the right foot. Open the arms to that big bowl. Slowly lift the left knee and start to externally rotate the left thigh, lifting through the arch of the left foot. So here's our dancing Shiva pose. If it feels like you're not dancing through your karma, you can start to circle the weight on the right heel, just letting yourself ever so gently wobble gracefully. See how serene you can be. Nice, Roseanne. It's beautiful. And then gently kick the foot forward and swing the leg back. Bend the front knee just a little bit to get some hip extension. We'll go into a warrior at any depth that you want. If you're feeling it, you can play with tipping forward a little bit more, or it can be a baby warrior. And then let's just take a couple of plays from dancing Shiva to our warrior. Make sure you're breathing. And the next time the back foot reaches back, let the toes touch down. Step off your block if you're there and start to soften through the front knee, just melting any amount over the front leg. You can use the blocks if you've been enjoying that, or the hands can come to the leg or the floor. gentle counter pose in Uttanasana. Soften the knees. Breathe into the low rib. Let the core brighten. And then push into the right heel and slowly make your way back up. Try to push evenly through both feet so there's a sense of both sides of the pelvis being supported. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So if you played with your block, you're welcome to do that again. Stepping up now with the left foot. Taking some time to bend into the left knee, anchor the left big toe, crease the leg almost like an accordion, just evenly squeezing and opening a couple of times. Try to feel the back of the hips supporting you, so feel the sit bone reaching towards the heel. And then the next time the leg inflates or the accordion stretches out, pause, big. Oh, that's great. An accordion is the exact arms we want to do. So play your accordion and then start to lift the right knee and externally rotate the thigh bone. And the hip stays neutral. The spine stays neutral, and it's all happening in the leg. We didn't do this the first time, but this is really fun. It's sort of like a hacky sack moment. You can take a couple of those swings. Pause and breathe. And then because you know where we're going, feel free to go there at any time. When you want that hip extension, start to kick the right heel back, reach the arms down or forward. It doesn't need to be dramatic. And then you can play between those two shapes. Shiva playing hacky sack and warrior. Give yourself permission to pause. Nice, Roseanne. It's great to find that edge. You were really playing the edge, and that's a hard place to play. Make sure you're breathing, and see if you can repeat mantra here as you dance through these shapes. And the next time you send the right leg back, bring the right toes down behind you. Let the right heel melt towards the mat. Step the front foot off of the block and then gently melt over the front leg. Option to use the blocks. I've been really enjoying swaying my hips here. I find that I get more into the outside of that front leg. Make sure the low back feels soft and there's no tension in the neck. And then bend the front knee, step the front foot forward. Bend both knees deeply, melting over the legs. Rock the weight back into the heels. Push down into the heels. Slowly roll up. Option to support yourself with your hands. And then take a moment at Tadasana. Take a couple of breaths, couple of mantras. Instead of just depositing a mantra in one spot, just imagine your whole body is the mantra. And then take your block. We're going to be coming down into Malasana. So if that's a hard pose for you, I recommend the highest height of the block. If that's not a hard pose for you, I recommend trying the medium height, even if you're used to doing it without a block. It can be really fun. So let the feet come a little wider than the hips. Turn the toes out gently. Anchor the big toes. Externally rotate the thighs so you feel the glutes gently engage, and start to shift the weight from side to side here. If you have any knee issues and this doesn't feel good, you're welcome to just come straight down to your little stool. Let the arms swing just to release tension in the back and the shoulders. And then eventually let the hips lower to your block and make any adjustments with your feet. I was a little too wide, so feel free to step the feet closer together if that was the case for you. And take a moment on the block. Everyone looks comfortable, to bring the hands inside and then open them. So there's a little bit of pressure on the inner thighs. Squeeze hand to thigh and squeeze, or arm to thigh, and squeeze the thighs in, and use that to gently lengthen the spine. You don't want it to be intense. It's just like a brightening. Push down into the big toe. Take a couple of breaths. Maybe you feel the deep front line gently lifting. And then keep the arms there, keep the big toes anchored, and play with lifting the knees or opening the knees away from the arms. And then squeeze and open, and just do that a couple of times as gently as a butterfly flapping its wings. Repeat the mantra. And then ever so gently release the block. If you want to pause for a moment and just feel your Malasana, try to find a sense of buoyancy. Sometimes people just sink down into the hips. Nice, Mel, you look very buoyant. That's so great. Yeah, shift from side to side. Nice, everybody. And then you can stay here if it's feeling good, or bring your hips down whenever you're ready for that. And let's open the feet to a wide straddle. See how nice. And then give yourself the opportunity to lean back a little bit and rock from side to side, and try to find that neutral that we've been seeking from leaning back, right? It doesn't have to be an intense sort of thing. Sometimes when we lean back, the spine arches, so feel that bottom rib reaching back, the ribs integrating, and use that strength to lengthen the spine. Be light on the hands as you sway from side to side. And then if it feels like you have more space, you can try to sit upright, but that comes from the pelvis tilting. So if that's not happening, stay at this back space and play with just reaching away from the legs. If it's fine to sit upright and that's comfortable, you can bend one knee at a time and walk the hands from side to side. And as you explore, and of course repeat your mantra, feel free to add anything on. Pause if you find somewhere interesting. You can wave over the legs. You can lean back even more. You can plant one hand and lift the hips. That's kind of a fun one. And we'll be making our way to Shavasana, and then we'll come back up to chant some Om Namah Shivayas together. So if there's anything your body's craving while you're upright, you're more than welcome to do that. You're also more than welcome to get whatever you need for your most comfortable Shavasana. And when you're ready, you can turn to one side. I highly recommend a blanket rolled up behind the knees, and whatever can help you be warm. Nice. I see people getting sweaters and pillows and all the good things. Also feel free to grab a sip of water, and please pause your music. And Satyam, will you put original sound on? As we begin our Shavasana, I'll play just a little bit of mantra with the harmonium just so you can feel that vibration, and then I'll give you some time in silence. So start to get settled in. Make your adjustments. And as you start to soften and relax, I'll play the mantra and try to feel the vibrations with your whole body. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. And you don't have to actively repeat the mantra. After all the work you've done, the mantras are all around your space and all absorbed into your being. And so now you can just relax and harmonize with the vibration. everyone here knows how to comfortably exit from Shavasana. So I'm going to just start playing the mantra, and you can take your time consciously making your way to your seat at your own pace. You can chant along the way, and we'll keep doing mantra together for the remainder of our class. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you so much for coming and celebrating Shivaratri. Namaste.